Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. We are on episode 3 of season 2 for this Mental Health Matters podcast. Um, we've been talking about just pretty much trying to get everybody back into the motivational mindset of just kind of getting out of your rut, getting out of your little slump. You know what I'm saying? Putting a little pep in your step. You know what I mean? And sometimes we need to have that little pep talk, little TED talk, or a little Tetsu talk on how to get there. You know what I'm saying? So as we progress through these episodes, we're on episode 3 now. We're going to be going over kind of like the next step you need after you've pretty much achieved the first 2 steps that we've discussed about, preparing yourself for the small steps, you know what I mean? And acknowledging where you need to fix, what you need to fix, where you're currently at in your journey, where you want to be. The third step that I feel is very crucial, kind of going off of the book that we've been reading, is The Power of Discipline. And the third step that I really like in this one is called Fall in Love with the Process. The reason, why would you have so much effort and motivation in something that you don't love, that you don't want? You know what I'm saying? So the title of this episode today, we're on season 2, episode 3, Fall in Love with the Process. All right, so I picked this title because it's a saying that a lot of us hear a lot of times. We hear it and we're like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever, blase, blase. But it's a lot deeper than people realize. You know what I'm saying? And it's really practical. And it's kind of like, sometimes it may seem like it might be self-explanatory, but when you put it into like the perspective of what we've been talking about when it comes to, like, we all like to start things. You come up with an idea, you come up with a goal, you come up with a process, you come up with a dream. At that moment, you just came up with it. It's fresh on the mind, and you're just like, this is it. This is everything. Like, oh my God, like, I can't wait to see this happen. I can't wait. You know what I mean? Like, we all have the greatest dreams in the world. We all have the greatest ideas, ambitions, and whatever, even if they're inspired from something we've already witnessed. You know what I'm saying? But the first little bit, like the first few steps in your journey, are going to be pretty easy to stay motivated in, right? Because it's the beginning process, right? You don't pay attention to all the steps that come into play, the hard work that comes into it, the mental and physical preparation that you need for it, and you kind of just like, yeah, let's get it, right? um but the thing is, where a lot of people fall off is, you fall in love with the dream. That's why everyone thinks it's cliche, because they're all fall in love with the process. Oh, well, of course. The process isn't the dream. The process isn't the end goal. The process isn't the outcome. It isn't any of that. The process is everything that puts you into play for it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's all the steps that get you towards what you got to do, and all the little ins and outs, all the research, all the late nights, all the plotting, all the scheming, all the blueprint design, and everything about where you want to go, how you want to get it. Like, you have to map it up and map it out and be like, oh, okay, so this is what I want to do. That's what I want to do. Like, that's all the process. It's going to be the times where you try little things and you fail. It's going to be the times where you try to, you try some things, you succeed a few times, and then you're like, man, I'm in my groove, and all of a sudden, bam, right in your face. You know what I mean? That's the process. The process is people believing in you. The process is people that don't believe in you. The process is people that started to believe in you, and then they stop believing you when things aren't going the way they think it should happen. You know what I'm saying? The process is, understanding how everything is supposed to map out in your mind versus the reality of what it's going to end up being. You know what I mean? And that's the part that people don't fall in love with. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody goes to work. You love getting a paycheck, but how many of you love putting in all the work that you do for that paycheck? You love being able to go out to have fun with the homies when you got to do it, but how many of y'all love paying that bill? You know what I mean? Like, you think about stuff like that. Sometimes some people love eating food, hate cooking it. Everything, in my opinion, all the beautiful things in life and all the things that deserve the most, love and nurturing, comes with some of the most work you're going to ever have to put in. Because if you don't have to put in work on it to maintain it or to elevate it, how can you really appreciate it? Because then we take everything for granted. And that's why I feel like the difference in the phrase of fall in love with the process gets really misconstrued and overlooked is because we don't fall in love with the process. We fall in love with the dream. We fall in love with the end goal. We fall in love with the product, but not the process of creating that product and bringing it to fruition. So I was like, I wanted to talk about this with you guys because these the things that I'm talking with you guys are things that I think about based off of my readings, and they're things that I think like kind of go into play with the stuff that I'm currently going through as well. It's like I'm thinking about like, okay, how can I apply this into my podcast? How can I talk to you about this without, what I'm saying, sounding like too BS or whatever? And I'm like, I pretty much just gotta speak on my own journey and my own interpretation, my own example and experiences. You know what I mean? And it kind of it goes like with what I'm doing now, with the content creation and stuff like that. Um for me it was always I this I love this topic because this topic was a little bit hard for me to stick on because I feel like personally I struggled with that. With falling in love with the process, right? Not everything that's beautiful is going to happen overnight. All these beautiful things, all these great things, a lot of great things don't happen overnight. They take time. Like even relationships, man. The relationship part when you meet somebody, whether it be a friendship, a girlfriend, a spouse, a boyfriend, children, parents, like all these different things, like they may start off cool. Like the concept of like the beginning of it is always going to be cool. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not going to want to invest in something in the beginning that sucks. It's always something that's cool in the beginning, right? And you want to feel that elated state of mind all the time. But you can't in the reality. So the whole process is how can I enjoy everything that I'm going through while getting to my end destination? And how can I apply it into my discipline, right? How can I apply this to my mental to become stronger? And it's like you have to look at like the bigger picture of it and realize like it's just something I tell my community when I stream on Twitch, right? I stream on Facebook, Twitch, Kick, YouTube, all these things, right? TikTok. And basically I tell people all the time this: stay blessed, don't be stressed. You know what I'm saying? That was my first part, right? And then I added some new shit to it. And it was you can't always control what happens in the world, but you can control how you move in it, right? And I feel like that was a really key part in this whole topic and scenario is you can't just because I have a dream doesn't mean I'm always going to know the exact way, the best way to get there, right? Just like, hey, I know how to get to this in the GPS, but there's other routes. They're going to tell you this is the quickest route or this is the safest route, this is the most efficient route, right? They don't tell you what type of car you got to drive. They don't tell you what you got to wear. They don't tell you the time of day to go. They don't tell you none of that shit, right? There's so many different variables that can change that journey. It's a completely different experience driving to the store in the sunshine, driving in it when it's a heat stroke, like a heat wave, and driving in the thunderstorm. You see what I'm saying? It's the same drive, it's the same destination, but it's a completely different experience. You know what I'm saying? You get into the same spot, the same drive in rush hour traffic or while you know what I'm saying, all, like like not peak times. Completely different experience. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of like how this is. You're not always going to be able to control the entire outcome of something. All you know is I want to get there, and the only thing that you are in control of is the way you get there. Is the way you operate, the way you react to things, the way you react to circumstance. You know what I'm saying? When good things happen, how well do you obtain, how well do you like, how well do you take it when bad things happen or mishaps happen? How negative do you feel about it? How much do you let it, get in your way? And I feel like that's where falling in love with the process is really going to help you, what I'm saying, govern yourself to understand, like, in the low times, I'm Gucci. It's all right. What can I learn from this? You know what I'm saying? Like, I love this. I love what I'm doing. Or you can learn off of, I hate what the hell's going on. Yo, I don't want to go through this shit again. I don't like this. I don't like this. I still want to get where I'm going, but this experience sucked. What do I need to do to never experience it? That's still fall in love with it because you like, I don't want to put myself through this bullshit no more. I want to get where I want to get, but I don't want to go through this to get through it every time. How can I make this easier? How can I make this a smoother transition? You know what I'm saying? How can I, reroute my system? And I feel like the only way for you to really have a sound mind and sound judgment, you know what I'm saying, is loving what you're doing and realizing that every step of this journey is preparing you to be the best version of you once you reach your destination. And if you don't fall in love with the process that makes you you, I don't feel like you're going to fully mature enough to appreciate your destination. You know what I'm saying? Because everyone's going to celebrate when they make it, but how many people last in those situations? Whether you're, and it depends on what you want. Whether your end destination or goal is like success, happiness, you know what I'm saying? Even just getting out of survival mode and just being comfortable, comfort, success, happiness, all these things are feelings or experiences that need to be maintained over time. You know what I'm saying? And we've seen this in celebrities and peers, family members, whatever it may be, siblings, whatever, of you've seen people that have reached their goals. And you've also seen those same people fall off after reaching those goals. And at the end of the day, you're gonna be like, what happened? It could be a lack of discipline in any form or fashion. But half the time when that happens, they fell out of love in the process. A lot of people, and I feel like when you fall in love with it, you want to hold on to that. You appreciate, you remember and you savor every step of the journey. So that when you finally make it, because you love the process and you appreciated everything you went through, you're gonna hold on to that and make sure it lasts. Well, and it could be your process, like your process was a lot of pain. Like there was a lot of pain in it. There's a lot of discomfort. Getting out of your comfort zone. That shit ain't easy. That's anxiety city sometimes. You fall in love with the process, you can learn how to overcome that anxiety and keep pushing your barriers, right? But you have to keep doing that and keep doing that and keep doing that. But then if you love what you're going through, the entire time your mindset's going to be positive to realize, I'm so glad I'm where I'm at now. I'm so glad I'm out of that struggle. And I want to make sure because I understood and appreciated every moment of the struggle and learned from it and grew. I don't want to have to go through that again. But if you don't and you fall off because you fell out of love in the process, then what happens? All of a sudden you going back to square one. You gotta go through that shit again? Nah, bro. That ain't me. That's not what I'm trying to do. And that's kind of like, and I feel like this ties in really well with just mental preparation for what's going on with like the first two steps that we were talking about. If you guys have been keeping up with the episodes, in episode 1, it was like, yo, you got to pretty much acknowledge the problem. Are you going to be a winner or a loser? Right. And then at the end of that, when you're done with that, you got to establish your baby steps and, brick by brick, count your wins. Now, in both of those, in that planning period, you have to fall in love with the process. And I feel like the next step, low key, is planning, but I already pretty much know what I want to talk about next. But it's like the situation is like, this is a very important, it's a very, very, very important step because this is like key into moving with a purpose. You know what I'm saying? Key to stepping with confidence. You have to love what you're doing. It can be a small journey, it could be a career path, it could be anything. You know what I mean? Because like you look at it with work, man. I feel like that's the biggest difference between a job and a career, right? Because a job, you're just doing it because you need to get paid, bro. It's my job. I just gotta do what I gotta do. Or this is my career, dog. Why? I'm invested. If you love what you're doing and you love the process, you're investing yourself. You know what I'm saying? So investing and falling in love with what you're doing and investing versus just having a job and existing is how you handle those rough days. You can love your job. There's gonna be days where it sucks. There's gonna be days where things happen that are out of your control, and you're like, dog, what's going on? Right? But if you don't have the right mindset, you're not prepared, that can bleed out from like just beyond your job. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to be able to handle that correctly all the time if you're not in the right mindset, if you're not mentally strengthening and preparing yourself, right? In multiple aspects, because then all of a sudden you don't love what you do no more. How can you, if you don't love what you do, how are you going to show up to work every day and give it your all? How are you going to show up to whatever it is, work, whatever? How are you going to show up to every day and not give it your all? You're not going to be able to if you don't love what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Even if there's certain steps that you don't want to do, you know it's a necessary step to get where you want to, you're going to go into it with a better mindset. You know what I mean? Like for me, like when I went to culinary school, right? Before I did all the content creation, I've been a chef for years. I went to culinary school. I started from the bottom, worked my way all the way up to like an executive sous style, you know what I'm saying? Like sous chef. Bro, I started cleaning floors. I was cleaning. I was the dude that came up and cleaned everything, cleaned the bathroom, cleaned the kitchen, cleaned everything. And I had to work my way up, and I hated that shit. You think I wanted to come to that spot and clean? Hell no. Hell no. I was like, I don't want to clean this. But I didn't go in there with that mindset. Why? Because I love what I did. And I knew in order for me to fully appreciate the restaurant business, I need to start from the bottom of the bottom. Because and I'm and this is like a key example of like me falling in love with the process, loving what I was doing, and being like, it didn't matter what I had to do. I had to go clean the bathrooms, I had to go clean it. I didn't like it. Oh, I hated that shit, bro. Especially if it was like dirty. Oh my God. But what I do, I was like, I'm gonna do this because eventually I'm gonna be past this. And I want to make sure whoever else has to do this, I appreciate them. That was the biggest thing. Because the biggest thing I heard everybody was like, don't get taken for granted. People will take you for granted. Don't do this, don't do that. I was like, I'm gonna prepare for that and get right. But I'm also like, maybe I want to make a difference. I want to be that guy that if you work for me, I appreciate everything you do, no matter what position you're in, right? We don't really, not everybody can say they got a boss that appreciates all the little things, especially the people at the bottom that keep everything going, right? Because you don't got anybody to clean your restaurant, that shit becomes a mess. Ain't nobody gonna want to eat there. It doesn't matter how good you cook. If that floor is dirty, I'm not gonna eat there. If that table is not clean, I'm not eating there. So everyone thinks that, oh, the cleaners, this, that, the dishwashers, you gonna put your food on dirty dishes? You gonna cook in a dirty ass pan? You gonna wipe stuff down with a dirty ass towel? No, you need them. They're your backbone, right? So I started from there, worked from prepping. Like I eventually started doing some prep cook stuff. I worked in the bars. Like I was a bar back. I helped out cleaning up there. I became a bartender as well. So I was a cook and a bartender. I did everything. I was a host. I was a server. I did every part of the restaurant industry I've done. Right. I've done different types of cook prepping. I did, your regular preps. I did sauce prep, saucier. I did garmager for like cooking like this like the appetizers like soups and salads and stuff like that. I was on the line. I did grilling, I did sauteing, I did made pizzas from scratch. I helped in the bakery. That was the only spot that I didn't really like flourish in. I didn't really care to do. I mean, I eat the shit, but I didn't really care to make it. Because I was impatient, right? But that was a part of me knowing myself and knowing my limitations. But the thing was like I did all these things um because I wanted to know the ins and outs of what it was. And there was some days where I was working in some of those areas and doing some of those things and I fucking hated it. Because I was like, oh, this is stupid, or oh, my boss is a dick, or oh, this guy's being lazy and now I gotta pick up the slack, right? And in my head I'd be like, but my love for what I was doing overrides that. And I'm like, but I'm gonna do what I gotta do because at the end of the day, I wanna make it. I wanna be known. I want to not but like be known like in like Publix. I don't want to be like Gordon Ramsay or anything like that, but like I want people to know like, oh shit, he worked for so and so. Oh, I know who that is, right? And I got to the point when I was up in New York, people knew who I was, and I was like, but it took me years to do that. It took me years of nobody knowing or caring who I was. It took me years of washing people's dishes. It took me years of like working, and it's crazy because like the higher up you go, the good ones, the higher up you go, it's just another job. It's just another task, right? I became a sous chef. You think I stopped cleaning? Hell no. If I was a sous chef and our person called out, I was expected to clean that for him. I filled in now every gap. Why? Because that's how I also earn the respect of my peers, because they know I can do everything. They know if they leave, I got to do their job. So what would they do? They'd be like, oh shit. And they know that if they need help, I'm the one person that can help them, because the other guys that are up in the top and are like, they don't remember how to make that. They don't know all the steps that we have, the steps and the prep and everything that we have. They don't know. They just know, give me these things and I can cook. Well, yeah, you can cook great. But if your boy is swamped, are you gonna be able to help him? They know that if anybody is hurting, I could jump on that line and boom, 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 help them put everything out. And all of a sudden, everywhere I worked, man, I had respect amongst my peers, like not just for me, but for them too. And it was like, and then the one thing that always stood out with me was everyone said he loves what he does. This dude loves what he does. You can see it. He loves what he does. Even to today, I'm not working in a restaurant. I'll be cooking at home. I'll be in that joint. When I'm like, when I got a recipe in mind, I want to do it, bro, I be in that joint. Like, I be doing my thing. So it's like that kind of goes with me, and like loving. I fell in love with my process because I love my dreams, right? It even came into this, dude. Like it's like, and sometimes it's gonna be a situation where things are out of your control and you can't do anymore. Like I had my car accident, jacked up my back. I can't really stand for crazy, crazy long periods of time lifting all the things I used to be able to do, that helped me like be strong assets in the kitchen. I can't do anymore, right? After a while, I got to sit down, or I'm completely out of commission, right? So I was like, damn, this sucks. I can't even do what I love no more. I just can't do it that strenuously, right? So I went to content creation. Bruh. Even with that, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know how to do all this. I didn't have none of these things. I had none of this stuff going. I had nothing. So I was trying to get everything situated. I had to figure out how to do everything. I had to figure out how to learn everything. And I was like, shit, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And at first I was half-assing it because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't care. I just needed to do something, right? And I was like, at first I was like, dude, just playing games or doing whatever. But in all reality, this is what I wanted to do. Like, I wanted to do podcasting stuff. I wanted to, as I got into more stuff, I like, yo, editing videos is kind of fun and kind of cool. Like the way you can do things, that had edits, like all these different things, right? All this is dope. That is dope. Oh my God, you can make merch. So all I knew is I didn't have an end goal except for I wanted to become successful in this. But as I progressed and met with the community and like got people to have came through, like people come and go. All the people that I met in the beginning, like more than half of them aren't even here now. It's a completely different group of people. But I still got my people that are day ones, right? And they're still here. But all the people I've met in the journey, you guys have all helped me fall in love with this process of creating content, or just talking to you guys, right? Or playing games with you guys, or all the crazy, silly, stupid stuff that we do. You know what I mean? And that's that was that was why I like struggled with it, because like in streaming, I had times where I was very invested, locked in. I'm editing every day. I'm doing this. I'm banging out. I'm doing collabs. I'm planning stuff with other content creators. I'm doing these. I got events going. I'm posting up content right after the event. Boom, boom, boom. I'm in my bag. I was doing good, but then there was so many different obstacles that I had to face. But the problem was, at certain times, I stopped loving what I was doing. I fell out of love in the process, and then I noticed the quality and consistency just fall off every time that happens. And then it would come into, the results I would get at the end of it were the same. And I was like, damn it. But it was like, as life hits, you know what I'm saying? Like, you had to that's something you have to do every day. Falling in love with the process and living in your positive mindset is something you have to physically do every day. You got to put that positive hat on every day, and you have to fight all the negative thoughts every single day, or you're just not going to be able to do it. You know what I mean? You're going to fall apart. It's going to chisel away at your motivation, right? Um so at the end of the day, if you don't fall in love with what you're doing and how you get there, you may never even reach your destination, because you're going to get so discouraged from all the obstacles, trials, and tribulations that you might walk away before you ever get there. And it almost happened to me a few times. Oh my God, dude, I would get so mad. And what would I do? What would I do? This is typical shit that everybody be doing, right? Stuff doesn't start adding up. Things don't go the way you want. You start pointing fingers at every other situation except for going, like I said in the first episode, looking in that mirror. What changed? What changed? Because I went through things all the time. And what I was able to prevail before, why can't I now? You get to look from within. Me lately getting into the bag now with the podcast stuff, bro. Right, coming back into it was a part of me. Every episode that I'm kind of going over with you guys is pretty much what I'm going through for that week. In between every episode, I'm reading, but I'm also reevaluating things in my life, what's changing in my life, what's working and what doesn't. And I want to be able to make a podcast of full transparency to let you guys know, hey man, this can be done because I'm doing it. Or yeah, I know that sucks because I'm going through it too. I'm going through it right now, or I went through it last week or last month, right? Everyone can get on a podcast, everyone can get in front of a mic and be like, hey man, this is what you need to do to live your life, to be the best person you can be. This is how you can make $1 million in a year. How many of those people does everybody like really believe though? Like I can come up here and tell you, oh yeah, man, it's easy. Anybody can make $1 million in a year. But am I going to show you how to do it? Am I going to explain to it? Am I going to be able to feel like I'm relevant enough to what you're going through? Can you be like, yo, I could relate to this guy? No. So I was like, yo, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in through this. I'm gonna share like all the shit that I'm going through and tell you guys, yo, this is what I got. This is what I learned. This is where I fell, where I kind of came short. You know what I mean? And be like, and then this is what I did to get out of it. You know what I'm saying? Or I might have an episode where I need your feedback. You know what I'm saying? I read comments and people be like, yo, this is what worked out for me. I want to hear that. Because there may be something I'm going through that I haven't shared yet that you have, and you're like, yo, man, this happened to me, and ba 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 bam, this is what I did. I'm like, yeah, I never thought about it like that. We feed off of each other. That's the whole purpose of community. You know what I'm saying? And for this one, it's like that's why when I first started with streaming, right, I wanted to do podcasts. I was like, I wasn't really a gamer like that. Like I play games, like yeah, it's cool, but I was like, I'd rather do all this shit. You know what I mean? Um, So I was like, nah, I'd rather just talk bullshit, whether it be just dolo or whether it be with other people. And I'm telling you guys, man, like I it was a situation back then where I was like, man, I wish I never did that this way. I wish I would have went straight into podcasting. But I was like, in my head, I was like, who's gonna want to listen to you starting the podcast dolo? Like a lot of people do a podcast when they've already kind of made some type of audience, when they already established some form of a following. Now all of a sudden they're doing a podcast talking about shit because people know who that is. They want to listen to him. They want to hear him and be like, oh, I know that's Tetsu. Da 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 da. Yo, he be talking about some crazy shit, or he be saying some really like inspirational shit or whatever. Like, yo, what's he talking about, right? Versus who the hell is that? You know what I mean? Who like was McGregor? Who's that guy? Like, who the fuck is that guy? Like, I don't want it to be like that. So I was like, I need to establish some type of a following before I really jump into the podcast world, right? So that's when they were like, yo, you should just play some games or some shit, right? Start off, everybody plays games to an extent, you know what I mean? Like, or if they don't, they understand. Or maybe some people don't like playing games, but they like watching. And that's when they told me about streaming, like how people like watching that stuff and they be in that joint, like, hey, yo, do you guys play that shit? Hell no, but I like watching it. I didn't understand that until now. So now as I got older, I hear that a lot. People come into the streams and be like, yo, I'm like, yo, you play this game? Like, nah, I suck at this game, but I like watching it. Or nah, I don't never play this, but you make it look hilarious. Or nah, I haven't tried it yet, but you make it look good. I want to try it now. I'd be like, oh shit, this is kind of cool. But then I was like, but I can't just end here, bro. And like we were talking about something about like, and content creation is different levels, right? And you have people that just stream. That means they just hit that go live button. They do what they got to do. They entertain for a certain amount of hours. They turn it off and they just go live their life, and that's it, right? And there's some people that can become extremely successful at that, right? But there's other people, and the difference between a streamer and a content creator is the content creator will go back and take those streams and take moments and clips from those, and they repurpose that. They make videos, they make short form, long form, audio form, whatever the hell they may need to, and they repurpose it to create content that can bring another audience that hasn't seen them yet, see the highlights of what happens in their streams, bring it back to them so that, what I'm saying? Sometimes you might come into a stream and it might be a boring moment. You know what I mean? And you be like, whack. Not every 10 seconds is going to be crazy hype, action all the time. Nah, it's going to be like, sometimes you're going to be going, they're going to be chilling. Sometimes you'll be going and be using the bathroom. There's nothing going on. But if you go into a clip, you get straight into that. You get straight into like the meat and potatoes of what's going on in their content. That's the purpose of a content creator. They've created a content, they've repurposed it into something else and advertised their own brand into you guys. It's self-made business. But a lot of people that don't do it and haven't sat down and really taken that dive into everything besides just streaming, don't realize how much work comes into it. And if I don't do it, nobody will. Mentality, right? You can't be like a kind of a self-made business and not love what you're doing, right? And this just kind of comes with the business mindset. Is like, if I'm doing, like, it's so much easier. You think about it and you like go into business mindset. You're like, yo, son, I want to work this job, right? It's so much easier to go apply for a job, do an interview, and go work and have somebody else create the whole blueprint for you. Go through trainings, figure out, yes, say this, say that. Okay, boom, boom, boom. All right, get up, work your little hours, turn it off, and go back home, and you ain't gonna worry about shit, right? That's so much easier than I need to create an entire business. I need to find a location. I need to find my demographics. I need to do, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's kind of like when it comes, even content creation, people are like, this ain't, bro, I got to make sure I have to accustom to an audience. I got to figure out what my audience is going to be. How do I want it to be? Am I going to be like a gimmick content creator? Am I going to be, you know what I'm saying, a VTube content creator? Am I going to be just me? Am I going to put a persona? Am I going to have, like, you got to come up with a name that could be found. You got to put up with a brand, a logo with it. There's a lot that comes with it, right? That people don't understand. But the thing is, if you don't love the process, you will never be able to work to your full potential because you don't love what you do. So you're going to be easily discouraged and you're going to overlook and be extremely short-sighted on certain things. When you love what you're doing, you want to make sure that shit is perfect, right? You love your car, right? We get that one. You get your dream car. You gonna drive in the mud in that car right when you get it? No, the moment you get one piece of dirt on it, what's the first thing you do? I'm washing and waxing this bitch. You know what I'm saying? You get some new J's. You got a new hat. What you doing? You're gonna go running, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna go like freaking, you're gonna go work in a construction site with that shit on? Hell no. You get one piece of dust off, all of a sudden you got the toothbrush out, you scrubbing that shit, you brushing your shit, you going crazy, right? Why? Because you love what you have and you want to keep it as good as you can for as long as you can. Why don't you do that with yourself? Why don't you do that with your significant other? Why don't you do that with your kids? Why don't you do it with your parents? Why don't you do it with your job? Why don't you, you know what I'm saying? We could do it with items that make us feel good, but what about us? Yeah, that hat will make you feel good, but what about you? What about when you get some dirt or blemish on your mental? What if you get more frustrated today than when you were yesterday? What, you know what I'm saying? Like, how are you buffering out all the bullshit? Or are you just trying to cover it up with material things that just cover up the stains? Because eventually that shit's gonna fall off. Eventually that shit's gonna not be there, and people are gonna catch you without all those things to see all the blemishes that you covered up and you didn't, you know what I'm saying, take care of. And the only way for you to truly sit there and realize, yo, son, I don't want this to happen, is you have to love where you're going and love every step of that journey, bro. You can't celebrate your small victories like we did last week, what we discussed last week with the whole, you know, the brick by brick. You can't love every brick. You can't love every victory if you don't love the process and what you're doing. So it kind of goes into that, man. You can't love into the, you can't look at yourself, you can't look yourself in the mirror and be proud of what you see if you don't love what you're doing. If you don't love yourself, how are you going to build yourself? You don't love yourself, how are you going to grow? You don't care. You don't water yourself. You know what I mean? That's something that a lot of people need to think in this society. I be peeping a lot of stuff, and I might go over some statistics next time. But like, bro, this generation, man, this area we are in life, this era, whatever you want to call it, man, is sad. Everybody's sad. Everybody's depressed. Everybody's got some shit going on. Everybody's facing something and losing their battle. We live in a generation of losing battles, and I feel like we let ourselves get that way because nobody loves what they're doing anymore. We all just became complacent and being like, you know what, I can't fix this, so I guess I just got to deal with it. And I'm not telling you guys this like I don't do that. I do that shit every day with stuff. And no, what's the point? What's the point? And then we wonder why we're not as successful as this person over here, that person over there, because they woke up and they realized, I love myself. I only get one life to live. And why would I live that life wishing it could have been something else? I want to live my life and know that every breath that I took, bro, I took that breath with love and confidence. That every situation that I put myself in, I learned from it. You know what I'm saying? Everywhere I went, I wanted to be there. You know what I mean? Because you can't, once it's done, you can't take it away. You can't take away what's happened. All you can do is get ready for the next thing to come. All you can do is prepare for your next destination. Once you get there, then what? What are you going to do then? If you don't love the process and you get to your destination somehow, if somehow you miraculously make it, now what? If you didn't love getting there, are you going to sit there when you finally make it and just be like, oh my God, man, I had to go through all this to get there? Or are you going to be able to celebrate and be like, son, we fucking did it. Was this easy? Hell no. But am I happy? Hell yes. And then that's when you go reminiscing, talking with the people that were with you on your journey and being like, yo, you remember when da 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 da? Now it's time to sit back, relax, and reminisce versus sit back and regret. You know what I mean? And I feel like all those things kind of tie in together with what we're saying because, like, this book really says it perfectly. Like, there's certain parts in this book. If you guys haven't read it, The Power of Discipline by Daniel Walter, I keep saying the name of this book and the artist every single episode simply because I really like this book. I'm glad that when I started reading again this year, this was the first book that I picked up because I love this shit. This book is great. Everything I've read about it has been very inspiring and very eye-opening. You know what I'm saying? Not to just being like, oh, I understand that, but it's like really good for reflection, bro. And that's the biggest thing, man, is falling in love with what you're doing. You know, some of these people, like they were talking about some people, like they were talking about this, the Serena sisters. I mean, Venus and Serena, the Williams sisters. They were training since the age of 3. So they were doing stuff and they competed at 14. So you'd be like, oh man, look at that 14-year-old. But you don't realize she's been training since she was 3 years old. That's 11 years of training. You know what I'm saying? You got so many people out here that have been training. They said Ronaldo, he's been training at the age of 11 and he became one of the greatest soccer members or I don't want to say the wrong thing, but you know what I'm talking about. Soccer, football, depending on what side of the world you in, you know what I mean? He became one of the greatest players, right? Because they love what they did. So every time that they went out, they put their heart into what they were doing. All these people that we have, all these great people that have done great things, loved what they did. Because if you didn't love what you did, you wouldn't have put yourself to a position to give other people the perspective to put you on a pedestal. Because they're seeing somebody that's doing it. So then at that point now, it's not what you're doing, it's how you're doing it, right? And then it comes into like this whole entire thing of loving what you want to do, loving yourself and believing in yourself can go into how you treat other people around you. I think it's just about, oh, getting to the destination. It's everything. It's the way that you carry yourself. It's the way you walk. It's the way you talk. It's the way you interact with other people. If I love what I'm doing, I love the process and I love myself. When I'm around other people, no matter what I'm doing, whether it's a good day or a bad day, they're going to know my energy. They're going to remember you. Everybody don't know where you're trying to go. Not everybody knows your vision. Not everybody understands your vision. Not everybody sees what you see. And not everybody's going where you're going. But the one thing that they can say is they're experiencing you in that moment. So if you're not in the best position you're supposed to be in, a lot of people around you are going to get the worst side of you. But it's a difference in trying to like please other people. You don't have to. If you are in a good mindset, a state of mind where you're doing what you're supposed to do and you have a positive energy going through you and exerting out to everybody else, every single step of the journey, you're going to have people that see what you're doing, love and love the energy, and they're going to gravitate towards you. So that even when there's days when you're not at your best, the people that really give a damn, they're going to see you and be like, something's wrong because this isn't who you normally are, right? So there's people, that's why I say the phrase falling in love with the process is so slept on and underrated because people only see the surface level of that. You know, you have like people that you have surface level like wifey talks about that all the time when it comes to friendships and interacting with homies. She was like, I'm so tired of surface level conversations. I wish I could just skip that level of friendship, the awkward surface level area of friendships and get straight into that gritty, like the real shit. This is me. Like, yo, what's going on? I had a shitty ass day. Da 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 da. Whatever. Or yo, this is great. Or sharing stuff that I like, not caring about if you like it, because if you're my homie, you happy for me. You know what I mean? That's like with my wife. She'll talk to me about stuff that, not like in a rude way, like I don't care. It's not a passion of mine, but she's my passion. So at the end of the day, I may not have a passion of what she's talking about, but I have a passion for her. So at the end of the day, if she's sharing something that I really don't care about the topic, I still want to hear it because it's coming from her. And you can tell. You have people that like, think about all the conversations you have with people, and it'd be topics that they don't care about versus topics that you know they love. And look at their body language, look at the energy, look at the way they speak, look at the volume, look at the tone. It changes. Why? Because there's a different level of passion, a different level of interest, and a different level of love in that topic. You don't realize the love for what you do determines the way you move in it and the way everybody sees you move. And that's when people can see that is that person walking with genuine footsteps, or are they putting up a front? You know what I'm saying? Now you can see, they're like, yo, that person's fugazi, or that's a genuine individual. You're like, that's a real motherfucker right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, all that stuff ties into each other, man. And I feel like in order to fall in love with any process, the first step you need to do is figure out how to fall in love with yourself. And there's another book that I'm gonna be reading after this one that's gonna be about, that has to do with that, about falling back in love with yourself, appreciating yourself, and wanting to better yourself. And I'm gonna be speaking about some of those in our episodes, because all this stuff ties together. I have another podcast I'll be working on. I'm not gonna plug it yet until it's already coming up in a few episodes, but that's gonna be the more like, just like messing around, joking side, stupid stuff. Like, it's gonna make no sense, but it's just hopefully funny because it might be funny to me, right? But this is my more serious. I love you guys, and I want to really share my experiences with you, because I'm here to grow with you. That you're not going to listening to a podcast from somebody who's got a PhD and is out here with, all these different books and documents and certifications on, on mental health. I am a normal human being, just like each and every one of you, that is going through his own thing, struggling in his own areas of life, and is trying to better himself and care about the people that are also trying to better themselves, and wants to build something where we all could look out for one another genuinely and not fake the funk just to be a part of something, right? That's the biggest difference in what I'm doing with you guys. So I really hope that you guys can kind of take that for what it is, you know what I mean? And learn something and grow with me. Don't just listen. Like, apply this. I hope you guys have been paying attention to the homework that I've been giving every episode, right? With the notebooks and stuff like that. And really writing down, like, yo, what's going on with this? What's going on with that? And add to the journal that you guys have. If you guys haven't, you gotta go peep the other episodes. Self plug, shameless plug. But let's go peep episode 1 and 2 and peep the homework I'm talking about with the notebook, right? And now go back to all those things that you wrote down and write down something that you loved in that. Something good happened. What did you love about it? You know what I'm saying? Look at yourself every morning when you're brushing your teeth and tell yourself something that you love about yourself. Tell yourself, you have to speak with yourself. In order to do anything, the beginning of your journey does not start when you walk out the door. It starts the moment you wake up. It starts the moment you love yourself. You want to do this. You want to be more successful. You want to be healthier. You want to be whatever it may be. You go like, hey, yo, son, I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna do my thug dizzle, right? You wake up, you're awake, but you're staying in bed, knowing you can get up. You just don't. You're failing yourself already. Get up. Win. That's your first victory of the day. Is, I don't want to get up, but I have to. I got to get this done. I got to get that done. Because when you get everything done, those days of rest, you can truly appreciate it, because you'd be like, yo, I knocked everything out this week. This is my real day of rest. I ain't doing jack. I'm going to just be cold chilling. And then you don't have to worry about, did I get everything done? Oh, shit. Nah, bro. Stay disciplined, step by step, piece by piece, and love every step that you're doing. Wake up and be like, yo, I'm so happy I got up early. Go brush your teeth. Like, yeah, I got this shit done. Boom, boom, boom. Take a shower. Yo, I feel nice and clean, son. I smell good. Go. By the time you walk out the door, you should have won already like three or four little I had like already three or four positive moments. If you know what I'm saying? And I was talking to my kids about this stuff all the time. I'm like, bro, you need to go to bed every day that you wake up. You need to go to bed better. And they're like, what do you mean? Every day you wake up, you need to learn something. You need to go to bed smarter than you were when you woke up. And you need to go to bed happier than when you woke up. If you can't do those things, then you just wasted the day. And that's not easy, bro. I'm telling you from someone that I don't do that every day. Y'all know that's not easy. Taking that time to learn something, that means what? You have to be humble. You have to realize and pay attention and be aware of everything that's happening around you. To realize, what can I learn from this? Okay, this, that, and the third, whatever I learned from it. Or like, it's just little situations or things may have happened in the day. You may have woke up and been like, yo, it's a good day, but things have happened. You've been worn down. How do you counteract it to stay happy throughout the day to the point where you found the joy in things that you didn't find when you woke up? So by the time you go to bed, you got new positive memories that you can laugh about before you go to bed. And I'm not talking about laughing, going on TikTok and scrolling and being like, oh, haha, that's so funny. Yeah, that's dope. But that's not something that you did. It's just a byproduct of somebody else's efforts. What did you experience? What did you do? Who did you interact with? Or what happened that it may not be funny, but it might have been like, yo, I did good. I accomplished this. Yo, this thing I was trying to, project I've been working on, I finally finished it. Or this book I was trying to read, I finally finished it. Or like whatever it may be, like little things like self accomplishments, man. You got to be able to sit down and really relish in that before you go to bed. I swear you will go to bed. So every time that I do achieve this of learning something and then being more positive than when I went to sleep, than when I woke up, I do sleep better because you're going to bed appreciative and productive of everything you had throughout the day. And your body can rest knowing that you didn't waste your time and energy today. I took this day and I made it my bitch. And that bitch is bad. Now you gotta go to sleep being like, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. It's like the feeling of you went on a date, you know what I'm saying? And Shorty was and you got that, you had a good time, everything was great. She grabbed your hand, you know what I'm saying? You was like, oh, this, that, and the third. You got that little, you got a kiss or whatever the fuck it may be, right? The perfect date. Then you go to bed and you be like, you know that feeling? If I have a wife and we still have dates and I still get my hand held and I get a kiss and I feel good at the end of that shit too, I walk away feeling like $1 million. I'm like, yo, I'm the richest broke motherfucker in the world. I be like that shit too. I'm a grown ass man with a whole wife, bro. And we go on dates and I get the kiss and I do this stuff and I feel so good, right? Why can't you feel like that about yourself with life? Why do we love everything else but ourselves? That's hard, bro. That's hard. But in order for you to fall in love with the process, man, you gotta fall in love with yourself. And that's one of the hardest things to do lately. But I tell you, that's a daily thing because you're going to make mistakes and be hard on yourself because you're trying to achieve that goal. You're trying to get to that spot. You're going to hit shortcomings and obstacles and speed bumps on the road and the journey. You're going to get mad about it. You're going to stumble and not make the right decision at times. And you're going to be blaming yourself and dogging yourself. But if you love yourself, you're going to stop yourself from doing that and acknowledging shit happens. Yeah, should I have done it? I wish I didn't. But at the end of the day, what did I learn from it? Why? Because you love yourself enough to not let yourself fall down on the floor again. So we acknowledge our problems. We're going to be celebrating every brick, every victory as we build that foundation. And now you fall in love with the process. Write it down, take notes. And I really hope that you guys got something from this because I already got something from this before even doing the podcast. That's why I'm speaking on it, but I'm still getting something from it now because I truly believe in what we're talking about. I mean, me, I know I'm the one talking, y'all listening. But I know, you know what I'm saying? Like, I read comments, everything. So if you guys haven't caught it, this is on, we're on Spotify. I just realized, I didn't even realize I'm on Amazon Music as well now. So we're Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube. We also do this live every Monday, around 8 p.m. EST on Twitch. I do a live recording And if you guys are here when we do the live recordings, at the end of the recording, and I sit down with my community, we talk about it. We give everybody else a chance to share, react with the chat, we talk. No games on these days. And then we post them up for you guys to be able to watch and listen to wherever you guys are at, whenever you guys are available. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So thank you guys so much for your time. And I can't wait to catch you guys in the next one, man. Remember, wake up, fall in love with yourself every day. When you go to sleep, you'll feel it. It's your boy Tetsu. Appreciate you guys. Catch you in the next one.